Investigators searched for clues to explain why Garuda Flight 200 crashed. Was the plane configured properly? Perhaps there was something wrong with the wing flaps pilots rely on for landing.
The flap system on a modern jetliner like a 737 create greater lift. And that means that we can approach an airport, or we can take off from an airport with a much lower and safer airspeed.
The team scrutinizes the mechanical rods or screw jacks that move the flaps.
We needed to look at the flap setting. What flap setting can we establish from the wreckage? We measured the screw jack extension to establish what the flap setting was.
What they find is astonishing.
Doesn't look like the flaps are all the way out.
The screw jacks show a flap setting of just 5 degrees, not nearly enough for a safe landing.
We just could not believe that the aircraft would have landed with only 5 degrees.
To provide enough lift on landing, the flaps of a 737 are usually extended step by step from 0 all the way to 40 degrees as the plane slows and descends towards the runway.
It's hard to overstate the value of the flap systems on a modern jetliner.
Investigators aren't sure how the flaps ended up at only 5 degrees. The flap mechanism was damaged in the crash and may have moved on impact. To be certain of how the flaps were set, they need to know what's on the flight recorders.
We need that data from the black boxes.
Some of that data is proving elusive. Australian technicians have been unable to download the cockpit voice recording. It's a huge blow. Desperate to hear what's on the device, investigators send it to the U.S. manufacturer, hoping experts there can recover the recording.
So steps were taken to hand carry the recorder to the factory so that the data could be downloaded.
Crash investigators are having better luck with the second black box, the flight data recorder. They've managed to download all of its stored information.
We were able to get information about the flap settings, the speed on the approach, the thrust reverser deployment, the dynamics of the approach and landing itself.
The data reveals the 737 was coming in for its landing blazingly fast. Flight 200 hit the ground at over 250 miles an hour, more than 100 miles an hour faster than normal.
We're not stopping!
This is a ridiculous amount of speed to approach an airport with the intent of landing.
The plane's speed at impact is so fast, it bounces twice before skidding into the rice field.
The speed of the aircraft on short final and on touchdown is so excessive, there was no way it was going to stop.
But why did the pilots touch down on the runway at such a catastrophically high speed?
Pull up the data for the flaps, would you please? There. The flaps were set for 5 degrees. Never more than 5 degrees.
The data confirms what the screw jack suggested to investigators. The flaps on Flight 200's wings were in a bizarre position, one that is never used during landing.